Hi, my name is Fahad and I'm back for another video. In the previous video, I gave you an overview of network topology that I'm currently using for my home lab. I showed you how I was able to create small networks, and each network is used for a very specific task. For example, my trusted devices such as my laptops, mobile phones, iPads go on a separate network, whereas I created separate networks for my Internet of Things devices such as smart TV, smart fridge, smart bulbs, temperature sensors, intrusion detection systems, CCTV. So these are all devices. I don't think they get any firmware updates. So they go on a separate network. Then I have network dedicated just to do malware analysis. So this network is completely closed off for obvious reasons. So if you want to learn more about how I designed my network topology, please check out the card above. So in this video, I'm going to cover the hardware that you need to set up your home lab. I will go through the process I used when I was selecting the hardware, what mistakes I made at the time so that you can avoid them. Let's get started. So there are a lot of YouTube videos which talk about what hardware people are using for their home labs. But I'm going to give you an overview of the criteria I set up. So let's go onto the computer screen and have a look at those one by one. Here we are on the computer screen, and the first thing you need is a server. So when I was selecting my server, I went through one of these criterias, and let me give you an overview of what those are. So the first thing I was looking for was the server must be energy efficient. So there are tiny PCs that are available. They are very cheap on eBay and they are very energy efficient. You can upgrade their memory and you can put in an NVMe or an SSD in it, and off you go. And because this server needs to be on 24/7, I think it has to be energy efficient. It needs to support virtualization technology. Why virtualization technology? Because new technology is coming all the time, and you need to have an infrastructure which supports virtualization so you can quickly spin up a VM and you can test that. And this one, I wish I knew it before. So your server should or must have, I would say, more than one network interface card. The server that I'm using, that's Dell R720. I put a picture up there. It comes with 4 built-in network interface cards. One of the key reasons that you need more than one NIC is because I'll be setting up pfSense, and pfSense requires minimum of 2 network interface cards. So one, it uses for the LAN management, so all your local devices will connect to the LAN side of things, and then the other will be connected for WAN interface, which is your internet. It always helps to have good amount of RAM and CPU, so I'm using 2 CPUs, which gives me plenty of processing power. So initially I just had about 128 GB of SSD, and I was just installing the OS, and then I would basically use TrueNAS to install my VMs, and I think it slows down them a little bit. So therefore I would suggest minimum have 1 terabyte SSD. Can limit the Proxmox to use only 30 GB, and the remaining you can install your VMs on. So I would definitely suggest you to have a minimum of 1 terabyte SSD. So this is, I think, very important, because if you are going for Dell R720, this server is very noisy. You know, you can't keep it in a living room, and it's a little bit big in size as well. Dell R720 comes with that capability which allows me to manage it remotely. Using this iDRAC system, I can actually download any ISOs such as Proxmox ISO to load the ISO. So I don't need to use softwares like Rufus or Etcher if you're using Mac to burn USBs and then plug it into the servers so that you can install an OS on it. I can do it remotely. So let's talk a little bit about which virtual software you could use. So here is XCP-ng, or you can use Proxmox. This is my current hypervisor choice. Reason, because I've been using it for a few years and I'm very comfortable using it, and it is super stable, allows me to create VMs, LXC containers on the fly. If you like, you can also use VMware iSCSI. So choose the one that suits your needs. Now, with a server, it's good to have a network switch. So why do you need a network switch? You have other devices such as Hive and Little Gateway, for controlling smart bulbs, so I can directly plug those into this switch. So these were the requirements that I had when I was selecting a switch. It has to be managed switch, so there are two types of switches. One is the managed switch and the other one is unmanaged switch. The unmanaged switch is pretty much a dumb switch, which basically is used to expand your existing LAN, whereas managed switch, you could create VLANs, create link aggregation as well on that. I wanted my switch to be able to support LACP, just like the server. I wanted it to be remotely managed. I wanted it to have either a GUI that I could access remotely, or something similar which would allow me to SSH into the switch. You could use Ubiquiti. There are a lot of people on YouTube using that. I think they are very expensive, and if you're just starting, you don't need an expensive switch. So I'm using Cisco switch for the last just over a year now, and it hasn't given me any problem. It performs perfectly fine. It's nice to have if it has SFP ports for future expansions, so I could use fiber connections directly to the switch as well. Now this is optional if it had power over Ethernet, so then you don't need to buy any additional power over Ethernet adapters. So my Ubiquiti access point, I had to buy a power over Ethernet adapter. One cable would come out of the switch, goes into that adapter. The other cable then comes out of that adapter and goes into access point to power it. If this switch supported PoE, then I didn't need to buy that. So the one that I'm using, that's called SG328 port switch. So now let's go to the process that I used when I was selecting the hardware. So the first thing I did was I went onto this website called PC Part Picker. Not only it gave me some build guides, but it also allowed me to look at the potential prices so that I could budget and how much it's going to cost me. Then I came across Dell R720s, which is enterprise grade server. There are plenty of them available on eBay. So you can see I just searched for Dell R720 and you can see 128 GB of RAM, two 12-core processors, so it's going to give you a total of 24 cores, just over 350 pounds. These servers are very good when it comes to energy consumption. First mistake I made was the one that I bought. It came with 16 bay backplane, meaning I could insert 16 2.5-inch SAS drives into it, and all of them were connected to the same backplane. So I didn't know at the time that these server by default can only support up to 6 gigabit per second speeds, but I was buying 12 gigabit per second SAS drives, which are a little bit more expensive. So as a result, my 12 gigabit per second speed SAS drives were actually running at 6 gigabit per second speed. So there was a hack I came across, and somebody bought two separate backplanes. So one backplane would support only 8 drives. So then these two backplanes would be connected to two separate HBA cards in IT mode. If you want to run TrueNAS, if you want to virtualize it, you basically need to pass the HBA cards directly to the VM so that all the drives that are attached to it will be seen by TrueNAS. The other thing was, by doing so, I was able to use my enterprise SSDs fully utilized at 12 gigabit per second speeds. Remember, if you have 16 slots backplane, it will not work. You need to have two backplanes with two separate HBA cards in IT mode, and by doing that, you will be able to run those SSDs at full speed at 12 gigabits per second. Even though the hardware by default was supposed to support only 6 gigabit per second speeds, if you're going for one of these, try and get two backplaned ones instead of the complete 16 slot backplane. That's pretty much it. So let me quickly give you an overview of how the system looks like. So I have 92 GB of RAM, so I'm using about 51 GB. So there's still plenty of room there. I have two sockets in the server, and I'm using Xeon E5 2650 version 2 CPUs. Two of them, so they give me a total of 32 cores. This is how I selected my hardware for my home lab. I hope it would help you. Again, the first thing is budget. If you budget it correctly, and if you know what you're going to be using it for, you can't go wrong. The other thing is what is important for you. So have some requirements. what is it that you want to use it for. So I'm very happy with the hardware that I currently use, and hopefully this video will help you choose yours. Next video, I will be covering how to now use Dell iDRAC system to install Proxmox and start building our home lab. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.